Hello, everybody. Welcome to this week's Five at First. We're glad to have you with us today. My name is Matt Kukin. I'm the senior pastor here at First ARP, and I'm with one of our pastoral interns, Mr. Nick Costanza, who is starting his second year at RTS Charlotte. I just want to make it clear that Nick did not just get out of prison. This is just an orange shirt that he's wearing. I like it.
And I'm not an Orioles fan either.
You're not an Orioles fan either? Okay. I don't know anyone who is an Orioles fan, to be honest.
They're still looking for the first one.
They're still gone are the Cal Ripken days. But anyway, as we give our update this week and had the opportunity to have Nick here, we're starting a school year for a lot of families here. Nick was a former teacher up in the Northeast. And so, Nick, I just was curious, what do you miss about school, teaching in a school?
That's an interesting question. I really miss the kids.
Okay.
Classroom interactions are fun if you're in a good school.
Okay.
And the material. Taught American history, Supreme Court history. I love that stuff. So.
Seeing the light bulbs go on in some of the kids?
Yeah. Jessica gets a lot more Supreme Court history than she used to because I have no other outlet. So,
if you are interested in Supreme Court history, maybe ask Nick and give him a little blast from the past.
Okay, we'll see. Don't go too specific. I might have trouble.
That's right. Did you know there's a Lynn Hollowell in our church tried a case for Gaston County before the Supreme Court?
I did not know that.
Yeah, so that's your assignment, to look up what case that was.
I'm going to figure this out.
Okay, very good. All right, well, I thought since we had Nick, Nick, as part of his pastoral intern role, does some teaching in our Sunday school classes. Starting September 10th, we'll have a new slate of adult Sunday school classes for you to consider. We also have some small groups that will be taking place as well. But as we think about those Sunday school communities, Nick, just thinking for church members, what are some of the benefits you think of being involved in addition to the worship hour with a Sunday school class?
It seems like there are at least two big ones. One is community. Mm-hmm. You get to meet people in a way that you wouldn't if you're just coming to service and leading. I think in a couple of the classes I've attended here, each class has its own personality. People know each other, which is great. And the other is that you get to explore some topics that probably won't be dealt with on a Sunday morning in a sermon. I'm teaching the Apostles' Creed, and that's not something you're probably going to hear in a sermon series. Where did the creed come from? Why is it important? And then go clause by clause. So it gives you the ability to look at things that you probably wouldn't get to in another setting.
Yeah, I agree completely. I think, I always tell adults in our church that, the way you go from the foyer to the family room of the church is really by getting involved in a Sunday school class or small group. And I just think it's a way to get to know some folks at a deeper level. Most of our classes have opportunities to share prayer requests and to just get to know each other through small talk before or after class, but also just by sharing prayer requests. But I also agree. I think it's a good chance to go deeper on some subjects. And we have some really gifted teachers here. That's one of the gifts of the Holy Spirit that God gives to his church. And so it's an opportunity to hear different teachers who have different personalities, have different areas that they've really studied. And so, take a time, even this Sunday, to look at the bulletin, to consider the different slate of classes. And maybe try a few different ones. I mean, some are bigger, some are smaller, some are more lecture style, some are interactive. But I think that, as you try out different classes, you'll find one that could be a good fit. And again, it strengthens those bonds or connections in the church. And one thing I've noticed just over time, one of the ways we close the back door of the church, basically from keeping people from coming in and just drifting off, is by involvement in one of those Sunday morning communities. And so that's just a helpful thing. I think also there's seasons of life where you just have a need for different topics to consider. I know Pastor Josh is planning on doing a gospel-centered parenting course starting in October just for 10 weeks. But for those of you who have young children or youth, maybe that's something that you need to consider at that time. The Apostles' Creed. Hey, I just want to make sure I understand the basics of the faith. What unites all Christians throughout all time. I mean, those are really helpful things. What do you think keeps people from being involved?
Sometimes I think just the commitment of being here every week for an extra hour.
Yeah.
If you come to the later service, you have to get here earlier. If you come earlier, you have to stay later.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's getting introduced to a group too.
Yeah.
It's like the first day of school.
Yeah.
You don't know anybody in your new school,
so
you don't want to talk to anybody. But that can be another one.
Yeah, and I think just pushing through that, a little bit of that awkwardness to just be willing to get to know someone. Is key. But yeah, I think that can be a barrier. Another one I hear oftentimes in our church is just some insecurity that everybody else knows more than they do. And I think just to realize people are all over the place in regards to their spiritual maturity and knowledge. And so don't be intimidated thinking everybody knows the Bible way better than you. I think you'll find people in lots of different places. Some people grew up in Christian homes and in the church where they know a lot from when they were children. Some people have just come to Christ over the last year or two, and it's all new.
And that can also be a benefit as you're sitting there hearing other people speak. It's not just the teacher. You can really, in my own life, some of the biggest moments in my walk have come from hearing older, mature Christians speak. Like, wow, I've never thought of it like that.
And I think sometimes some of my growth has come from hearing younger Christians ask questions.
That's true.
That I'd never thought about, or I didn't think about it from that angle. And so I think older Christians need to be around newer Christians to just be reminded of the passion and the energy and the excitement. And younger Christians obviously need to be around older Christians as well. So just think about what it would take for you beyond worship to take one step towards community and growth in your faith this year. And if you need a suggestion, feel free to ask Nick, ask myself, ask one of the other pastors or leaders, and we'd be happy to guide and direct you to a course. But just an encouragement as we begin to start this fall. It's a good time to kind of weigh starting a new habit on Sunday mornings.
Yeah.
So, Nick, what's one thing you appreciate about seminary right now?
I'm taking Genesis through Deuteronomy right now in that one class. Just the reading so far for that class has been very helpful I'm teaching the Apostles' Creed. I believe in God the Father Almighty, maker of heaven and earth. And yesterday we looked at different views of creation, and it gave me a very solid foundation. That class is very exciting.
That's awesome. That's great. Well, I'm glad we'll have Nick, Lord willing, Nick and Jess and their family around for a little while longer. Obviously, Nick is competing with Josh for the nicest beard in the church. And I think Josh is winning personally, but
that's fair.
Yeah. All right. Well, everybody, thanks for joining us this week. God bless, and we look forward to seeing you Sunday. Happy Labor Day weekend.